Here are 11 cheat codes to fat loss that separate people who get lean and stay lean from the ones who keep starting over. Because let's be real, most diets fail. Not because you're not trying hard enough, but because you're focusing on the wrong things. I've learned and used these exact strategies to lose 50 pounds, and if I've known them sooner, I would have saved myself so much time. Set an end date. How many people do you know that have been on a diet for the past 3 years, yet they still look the same? And if that's you, I'm sorry to call you out, but we can change that. Before you do anything else, figure out 2 things. A specific goal that you can track, like body weight, a waist measurement, or fitting into a specific piece of clothing. And based on that, set a realistic timeline to get there. Now, I want to emphasize the word realistic here. If you have 50 pounds to lose and you're just giving yourself 1 month, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Here's a simple rule of thumb for figuring out a good timeline. Take the number you want to lose and turn that into weeks. So if your goal is to lose 15 pounds, plan for at least 15-ish weeks. Of course, things can change. Maybe plan for a 10-week cut, but at week 8, you met your waist goal and you're feeling great. You don't have to push more just because you set that goal. But having that end date to look forward to is such a cheat code, because on those hard days when you feel like quitting, you can remind yourself that it's going to be over at this date. And most importantly, it will prevent you from ruining your metabolism from being in a constant calorie deficit, which is such a common issue. Meal timing and frequency. You know what sucks? When it's 5 p.m. and you already finished all your meals for the day, MyFitnessPal is like, you have 0 calories left, so now you're starving, just wait until you can fall asleep. We don't want that, so space out your meals around 3 hours apart. Pretty basic stuff, but trust me, it makes all the difference. For example, you can have a bacon and egg sandwich for breakfast for a total of 700 calories. Or you can have a breakfast of eggs with some oats, and a few hours later have a snack of Greek yogurt and fruits, and for lunch have some chicken and potatoes. Both of these are the same amount of calories, but with meal number 1, your energy will drop so quickly and you will feel starving, making you more likely to go off plan. With meal number 2, your energy will be steady for hours and you'll feel great throughout the day. I get it. It may feel so annoying at first to have 4 to 6 smaller meals per day, but try it first, because this little inconvenience will make you feel like you're not even dieting. Avoid food-centered content. Our brains are so smart. When you enter a calorie deficit, your body starts sending out a little emergency signal to seek out high-calorie, fatty foods. That's a survival mechanism from our ancestors. Because back then, if your body sensed food scarcity, it needed you to find the most calorie-dense stuff as soon as possible, so you don't die from starvation. It's actually pretty cool, but makes dieting way harder now. That's why a lot of people on diets become obsessed with saving recipe videos they want to make, watching mukbangs, or their whole explore page just being food. And my best advice is to avoid food-centered content when you're deep in the cut. Find other interesting things to watch instead. This will make it so much easier to deal with hunger and cravings that are inevitable. And my biggest tip for those annoying cravings is to actually take that food off the pedestal and check in with yourself. Do I really want that? Because most of the time, the answer is not really. Remind yourself that you can always have those foods if you really want them. No one's stopping. This realization alone makes sticking to your plans so much easier, because those foods lose that intense pull of, oh, I'm not allowed to have it. Accept that hunger will happen. It's a sign you're in a deficit. When I tell you this is the #1 cheat code of the whole video, I'm so serious. And it's so obvious. Before going into a deficit, I was trying to hack hunger and try to avoid it as much as I can. When I inevitably ended up feeling hungry, I thought I was doing something wrong. At the end of the day, you're going to feel hungry, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a sign that your body is actually in the deficit. Things are working and you're doing the correct thing. Learn to coexist with this feeling for the period of your cut, because from my experience, resisting it makes the hunger even louder. Now, that said, there are levels to this. If you're constantly feeling hungry, if you're feeling lightheaded, if you're feeling like you're gonna pass out, that means your deficit is too steep and you seriously need to bump up your calories. That is not realistic long-term and not healthy for your body. But there's nothing wrong with manageable hunger that comes and goes. Sleep and rest. It should honestly be a priority over getting your workouts in. You could be training so hard in the gym, tracking your food, being on top of your cardio, but if you're running on 5 hours of sleep, your body's gonna fight you the whole way. When you're not sleeping well, your cortisol levels go up. That's your main stress hormone, and when your cortisol is high, it messes with everything. Your hunger increases, cravings get worse, especially for sugar and carbs, and you tend to hold on to more water, so you look and feel puffier. There's actually a study I read where 2 groups followed the exact same diet, but one group only slept 5 hours per night and the other slept 8. The sleep-deprived group actually lost muscle and kept on body fat. which is like the opposite of what you would want. And it's not just sleep. Recovery and rest days matter too. You don't build muscle from training, you build it while you rest from training. If you're going hard in the gym 7 days a week and wondering why you feel like trash and aren't making any progress, that's probably why. Here's a quick guide to mastering your recovery. 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, no negotiable. Cut out caffeine at least 6 hours before bed, ideally 8. Have a minimum of 2 rest days from the gym per week. That's it. Master these 3 and your body will thank you. Make your food taste good. For some reason, a lot of people think that eating clean means suffering through plain and flavorless meals. But why suffer when there's so many ways to make your food taste good without adding extra calories with sauces or oils? I will actually argue that these things make the flavor of the food so much better than an overpowering sauce. Here are 4 things I swear by to add flavor. Seasonings. Compare plain white rice to this. I know you can't smell it, but it even looks so much more appetizing. Have a set of seasonings you can use to add when you're cooking. My go-tos that I use for almost everything is a bunch of garlic powder, paprika, salt and pepper, and herbs. Number 2 is a part of seasonings too, but a lot of people skip salt because they think it's bad. No judgment, because I've done that too at the start. But you know those popular electrolyte packets everyone's obsessed with? It's literally salt. So not only it's really important for your hydration, it also enhances the flavor of the food so much. I add salt to everything, even when I make sweet things like oats. Number 3 is use low-calorie sauces. There's a bunch out there, but I like to keep it simple with hot sauce and mustard. I had no idea before this that mustard is 0 calories, and if you mix hot sauce with mustard plus calorie-free sweetener, you get like a honey Dijon mustard. It's really good. Some other popular ones that really enhance the flavor without a lot of calories are Melinda's and G. Hutch's. I don't think I pronounced that correctly, but you got it. Here's a picture. And number 4 are acids. They are huge flavor enhancers. Like lemon juice, red white vinegar. You can add that to salads, rice, chicken when cooking. Don't neglect fats. Fats are higher in calories than protein and carbs. So naturally, when people start a calorie deficit, they tend to gravitate towards higher volume and low-calorie foods, like egg whites instead of eggs or 0% yogurt instead of full fat, to save calories and feel fuller. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that because high-volume eating can be super helpful. But that often leads to lower fat intake, and here's what no one tells you. When you go too low on fats, you're probably going to feel hungrier, moodier, and surprisingly way less satisfied after meals, even when your stomach feels full. And if you stay at a long-term low-fat diet, you might even experience hypothalamic amenorrhea. Sorry for that pronunciation, but it is something that I've personally experienced, and it's when you lose your period for more than 3 months. And you also experience a bunch of other negative side effects. That's because fats are crucial for hormone balance, especially for us as women. So not only will they help you feel fuller for longer, they will also keep you healthy. When I started adding back more fats into my diet, I noticed a huge difference in my energy levels, my skin, hair, and nail quality, even my sleep improved. Even though my meals were technically smaller, I felt way more satisfied. For women, the general recommendation is to aim for about 20 to 35% of your daily calories from fat. Some great choices are salmon, peanut butter, nuts like cashews and almonds, whole eggs, and fattier meats like ground beef and chicken thighs. Caffeine and diet drink. Diet drinks and caffeine are almost a perfect cheat code to dieting. They reduce hunger and give you energy. Basically, all you want in a deficit phase, right? There are limits to it though. Caffeine can seriously mess with your sleep, both the quality and the amount. What shocks me is that there's a study that found caffeine consumed within 8 to 12 hours before bed can disrupt your sleep quality, not just your ability to fall asleep. So even if you feel like you can fall asleep fine, your total deep and REM sleep is decreased. If you usually wake up tired or still under-recovered, that's probably the reason why. Generally, try not to have caffeine 6 to 8 hours before bed. But honestly, the longer the time is between caffeine and sleep, the better. Also, unfortunately, caffeine tolerance is a thing. So at first, a cup of coffee is perfect, but after a week, it just doesn't hit the same, so you need 2, and then 3. And then it just keeps going. And if you keep just increasing the amount, that can lead to some serious anxiety and, again, sleep issues. I personally like to throw in a few days of no caffeine or very low amounts every few months to reset my tolerance. In a perfect world, you can completely reset your tolerance with 7 to 10 days of not drinking any caffeine, but I'm not trying to attempt that here. As for diet drinks, if you overdo it, the artificial sweeteners can mess up with your digestion and cause unnecessary bloating. So just watch how your body responds, and if your stomach has been feeling off, that might be the reason why. Simplify your meals. If you think about it, the only thing that actually determines your success with anything is if you can stick to it consistently. And if that's the case, why not make it as easy as possible? Because all those recipes you save on Instagram are cool in theory, but on a day when you come home exhausted from work and you have no energy to cook, let's be real, you're probably not making stuffed bell pepper protein boats. And the temptation to order something is just too strong, so you give in and get some DoorDash. And like doing that once in a while is totally fine, but if it starts happening multiple times a week, it's just gonna mess with your progress. Not even from a calorie standpoint, but from the stress it causes. You're standing in the kitchen, starving, figuring out what you want to order instead. Then you're trying to figure out if you can make it fit into your macros. And next thing you know, it's been 40 minutes, you're frustrated, and you still haven't eaten. Or you can just have a few go-to meals on rotation. I'm talking stuff you can make in 10 minutes without overthinking. Like James Clear said, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And your meals are a huge part of your system. Here's what I personally do. I pick a few protein sources I like chicken, ground turkey, eggs, and Greek yogurt. A couple carb sources, rice, potatoes, oats, and fruits, and whatever veggies are easy to throw in. Lettuce, cucumber, broccoli, cauliflower. Then I set aside a few hours to cook all of them and mix and match them throughout the week. That's ingredient prep for you. Nothing fancy, but those are solid meals that you can make in no time. Dieting is a privilege. At the end of the day, dieting is a choice. You don't have to do this. No one's forcing you to. And yeah, it gets hard. But when it does, I always remind myself, the fact that we even get to do this, to work on our bodies, to go to the gym, to decide to decrease our calories to meet a certain body goal. That's not something everyone has access to, resources to, time to. That's not something everyone has the privilege of doing. And when you start to feel your motivation dip, you can ask yourself, I could quit right now, but would that get me closer to the person that I'm trying to become? Because it's not only about achieving the body that you want, it's also about doing what you said you will, building that discipline and confidence in yourself. Instead of saying, oh, I have to do this, shift this to, I get to do this. This mindset always brings me back when I feel like quitting. Set a realistic deficit, not too slow and not too fast. I honestly think the number one reason diets fail is because of how they're set up. Because when you first decide you want to lose weight, your motivation is so high. You're like, I'll do whatever it takes, let's go. So you jump into a 1,000-calorie deficit, hit a 2-hour workout, get 12K steps in, all in day one. Then by day 3, you're starting to feel hungry and irritated, and the weekend comes around, and you just go crazy, reversing any progress you've made during the week. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's just that the plan wasn't sustainable in the first place. You need to set something up that you can actually stick to over time without hating your life. So how do you actually figure out what your deficit should be? Go to TDEE calculator, plug in your info, and it will give you an amount of calories you should be eating to be in a calorie deficit. Weight yourself weekly, paying attention to how your body responds. Everyone's maintenance calories are different, so the amount given on the website should be taken with a grain of salt. You can lose a few pounds or the opposite from the intake recommended. Just see how your body responds. Use that as a starting point and adjust as you go. A healthy goal is to lose 1 pound per week. Now, on the flip side, you don't want your deficit to be too small either, because that's just as frustrating. You're putting in the work, but you're not seeing any physical changes. And that lack of result will also dip your motivation to keep going. Let go. You know when you want something so bad, you start obsessing over the outcome? You're constantly thinking about it, analyzing every little thing you do, and getting frustrated because you don't have the result fast enough. That energy keeps you stuck. When you're operating from that place of desperation, it's like your brain is screaming, I don't have this yet. And that feeling, it pushes your goal even farther away. We're still talking about weight loss here, but it applies to everything in life. Once you set up your workout plan, your calories, your daily step goal, let it go. Show up every day, but stop trying to micromanage every little thing. Like Alex Hormozi said, the people who are the most consistent are the ones who win. Not because they're the best, but because they're still there when everyone else gave up. For anything to actually work, you need to give it time. But if you're constantly second guessing every little thing you're doing, you're gonna keep tweaking the plan, making a bunch of unnecessary changes that slow down your progress even more. I used to do this all the time. I would follow something for 3 days, not see any changes, panic, and switch it up completely. But the second I actually stuck to one plan for at least 2 weeks, I've actually seen progress. Shocking. I know. There are so many variables you can't control, but what you can control is showing up every day to your plan. And when you trust the process instead of constantly doubting it, it becomes so much easier to stay consistent and not crash out over some weight changes or body dysmorphia. Alright, those are 11 cheat codes that actually made fat loss doable for me. If this has helped you, let me know in the comments or send it to somebody you think will benefit from it. And if you want more real fat loss advice, make sure to subscribe. I've got so much more coming.